Hello and welcome back to Molby on the Spot. This is, as you know, your weekly or so chance. Thanks, Anfield Index Pro, to hear the wit and wisdom of my colleague, your friend of mine, Mr. Jan Molby. Good evening, Jan.
Yeah, good evening, Trevor. I hope you're well and hope you've enjoyed the last 2 weeks or so.
Bizarrely enough, it was an international break when an Irishman could have a smile. It's been a long, long time, buddy, as you well know. And an awful lot of the reason was in previous years has been because your lot have put the kibosh on any hopes we might have had, slim and all as they may have been. A very interesting international break, and I think much needed for fans of Liverpool. We'll get to that. It's also been a busy week for yourself. I saw you doing a little bit of MC duty there during the week in a charity event organised, I think, by your good wife. Just tell the folks what happened there, because it was a good old sum of money getting raised there.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it's always a good event. We have an annual ball in November in the international break in November. And obviously over the years, we've been raising money for various charities. At the moment, we're just finalising work for the local hospital of Arrow Park for the premature babies unit, which is something that when we kind of looked at that and we went, premature birth would touch a lot of people. And then lo and behold, when we had our first grandson some 19 months ago, we experienced exactly the same. He was born premature and there was a lot of problems with the birth. So, we're looking back and thinking, we think it's a really worthwhile cause. It's coming to the end now because the first spade is going into the ground to build a wing just for premature babies, which I'm delighted to say that my wife and myself have been a big part of being able to raise the money that is needed. And of course, the donations we get from people, i.e. Liverpool Football Club and everybody else, and of course the support we have of everybody else. I mean, you mentioned me doing a bit of MC. We had John Barnes at 1 a.m. singing, one of his many raps. But we don't put people up on the stage unless somebody pays for them to go up on stage. You know what I mean? So we had to find somebody who was prepared to part with a 4-figure sum for John Barnes to rap, and it just all worked well.
That's magic. I absolutely love that. And you're too modest to mention it, but the sum that's been put out there is 150 grand raised at this most recent one. That's tremendous. What hospital is that wing attached to, Jan?
Arrow Park.
Arrow Park.
It's a local hospital on the Wirral. It's some 5 minutes drive from where we are. I think people more know the Royal Hospital in Liverpool, and also Alderhaven, which is a children's hospital, isn't it? But we started off by fundraising for the local hospice on the Wirral, which is a place called Clare House, and we did that for a number of years. And also they've done all sorts of really, really good work for them. And so it does. It kind of gives you a good feel, Trevor. Believe me, it's hard work, but at the end of it, some 3 a.m. in the morning, Sunday morning, we were all just sitting there. It's a nice feeling to have.
Yeah, and the cause itself, I mean, I can't personally really resonates with me. I remember 26 and a half years ago wandering about in a little room with loads of little plastic boxes and all these little mites in there, hoping my one would be okay, and looking at the rest of them and sort of feeling that kinship with all these people come down to look at their little baby they can't even touch yet. It's a remarkable situation to be in, and lovely to be able to help out. People are here to hear your opinions on the football, and I did mention already the international break. Just so you know, I am absolutely representing. I do want that to be seen. It's just too bloody cold in this house at the moment. I'm only in, so my heating hasn't warmed up yet to display it fully. But nice for, like I said, Ireland to be involved in these playoffs. I do have a graphic there. I'll be getting it up while you're talking, but very, very dramatic stuff. We thought we had put the tin hat on the drama, and then, Jan, along came Scotland.
Yeah, and we thought that was going to be the last drama, what you delivered, because I wouldn't say that, we thought we were going to cruise through, but we just needed to avoid defeat. What makes it even worse is that with 2 games to go, where we needed a win. We were playing Belarus in Copenhagen and then Scotland in Glasgow, and you think it's got to be a win there somewhere, hasn't it? But to finish with those 2 games with 1 point and 6 goals conceded, was a minor disaster. But we go again with the playoffs, which is not ideal, isn't it? But we play North Macedonia at home, and then obviously the winners play Czech and Republic of Ireland in Dublin. So
yeah,
we're coming for you.
Yeah, these playoff paths are very interesting, and it does pitch up some interesting ones. The ones for the British and Irish nations, you've got Northern Ireland are playing away at Italy. Wales have got Bosnia Herzegovina at home in their initial match, and then obviously the playoff will be there. You've got Ukraine, Sweden, Poland, Albania, and then the final between Poland and whoever comes out of Ukraine and Sweden. I'm assuming Poland get by Albania there. Path C, Turkey versus Romania, Slovakia versus Kosovo, and then the playoff there. And of course, it had to be Denmark and Ireland involved in the same thing. Denmark, North Macedonia, Czech Republic, Republic of Ireland. Look, we'll do very well to get out of that first game. Our lads were pulling up trees, let's be honest, in the last two games to get us to a position where we can actually get a qualifying match. And then the prospect of having to go to your lot is less than inviting, I have to say, Jan. I have to say. I mean, when you think about that, I sure, like myself, you were kind of hoping there would be a little bit, first of all, not to be involved in this crack, and then at least let us get somebody different. Would you be confident of your mob going through over the course of these two games?
Not necessarily. I think we all felt, without sounding big-headed, that the group was kind. When the draw was made, we thought the group was kind. Scotland, Greece, and Belarus, and we thought, we can do that. And then after 4 games, Trevor, sitting top of it with 10 points, and you think, this can't go wrong. Goal difference miles better than Scotland. All we have to do is beat Belarus in Copenhagen. And you think Belarus's only chance is maybe to pinch a 0-0 draw. But then there's no way we're not going to score. We scored 6 when we played them away. I know it was a neutral ground in Hungary, but we scored 6 when we played them away. So they're not going to be able to keep us out. And then for Belarus, somehow, to score 2 goals in Denmark, it's just unheard of, isn't it? North Macedonia in Copenhagen should be okay. I think we should be able to beat them. I mean, that was a team that Wales put away the other night, 7-1. So we should be okay there. I don't know. Czechia. It's a long time, Trevor, since they were a good team. And I think they are still kind of messing around with that same sort of squad. That's where I think you're different. You've got a young squad, young up-and-coming players who are still finding their feet in international football. Add to that, Dublin would be a bit like Glasgow, wouldn't it? It will be mental, you know what I mean? So I think that's the one we fear. It's, because it's kind of almost old-fashioned, isn't it? But, stick it up to them, which is what Scotland did to us, isn't it? And there's no doubt that the crowd in Dublin, if we get that far, the two of us, it'll be a similar thing, won't it? It'll be a similar sort of team talk from your camp. Let's get after these. Let's put them under pressure. And they'll make mistakes because we made mistakes in Glasgow. And we're more than capable of making mistakes again. And so we've gone from, I said to my wife a while ago, should we go to the World Cup in 2026? And she goes, I don't know, do you fancy? I said, well, I kind of fancy would be Mexico, Canada, and America, but maybe there's too much travel. I said, but the good thing is, Mandy, I said, we'll have tickets for 3 matches to start with. Because I'll get, I don't know, so them tickets are no longer guaranteed, Trevor. I'm not watching Norway. I am not watching Norway. Should they be the only Scandinavians? I'm not watching Norway.
Well, if you and your missus are really insistent on going to the World Cup, I think you should go anyway and buy 3 Ireland tickets. That's would be my advice to you.
Well, Trevor, they'll be impossible to get your hands on, won't they?
Oh, you know it, man. In that country, come on.
Yeah, but also, exactly. In that, I mean,
there's
as many Irish in America as in Ireland, isn't there?
Oh, and more. Yeah, there's no danger.
No, it'd be a magic.
I mean, look, there's a little bit of fun on the horizon, something to look forward to in March. International football actually has a bit of spark again, and look, let's give Scotland their flowers. That was genuinely amazing stuff. What a selection of goals as well, Jan. I mean, really, it was epic era Brazilian fare from them, like, long range hits from their own half and that incredible Tierney pop into the top bins and an overhead kick from Scott McTominay, who's reinvented himself as some sort of, just absolute baller since he's gone to Napoli. Hats off to them. I'm so happy. And I'm sure, Jan, I know you don't do a whole lot of social media stuff, but I'm sure you have seen the interviews, or the interview specifically with Robbo afterwards, talking about Jota, talking about him and how they shared that dream of going to the World Cup together. It was very emotional stuff. I think anyone watching that didn't feel a bit moved probably might have a heart of stone,
No, I mean, but the whole thing in it, the whole story, and seeing all the Scottish fans, and there's obviously been a long time since 1998. So it's kind of those emotions that you want from football, isn't it? That joy of getting somewhere, whereas you would have had all the normal ones qualify. England 8 games, winning all 8, not conceding, and whatever. They would have hardly had a celebration in the dressing room after, would they? So it's nice when football gives you these moments. I mean, you had a similar moment in I assume your game was in Budapest, was it? You must have had the same sort of kind of, unbelievable, although it wasn't automatic qualification, but, it still gives you another chance, doesn't it? And the Welsh, winning 7-1 as well, they went mental down in Cardiff as well, isn't it? So it is nice to see those pictures. They're the kind of pictures you want to see, Trevor, isn't it? We go through all these qualifying games. Most of them are horrendously boring, but at least towards the end we get a bit of life in them.
Yeah, we do, and it's come up trumps bit of drama. Now I suppose should start to focus ourselves back on the Liverpool stuff, because it's not like we don't have an hour's worth of stuff to talk about any one of these topics. But I would kind of like to bring our focus back to where we were last time you and I doing this show. We were looking ahead to the City game. I think we were cautiously optimistic because you were kind of thinking, well, maybe there'll be a roll-on of the really impressive Real performance and the Villa result, if not entirely performance. But what happened was, Jan, there was a hard reset to the shambles that had pretty much been the case for an awful lot of the performances this season. And if we're being honest, and I think most people are starting to really put this together, that this kind of form tracks back well into the end of last season as well, up to and including the period of time when we were getting the League One. So all of a sudden, after that City result, the questions started again, and they started in earnest. Everything from what's gone wrong to how can we fix this to is Arne's job under consideration, and so on and so forth. I found it very hard. I have to admit, I found it very hard to get my head around the what I could perceive as the sort of attitude on the pitch of the players in terms of second balls and hunger and desire and all those kind of things that are passé to talk about, but absolutely vital parts of the game. That's how I explained it to myself, because I needed to grasp onto something. And is it that simple, or sorry, is that what it is for you, or was it just something like City are simply a far superior team? Because I find that hard to believe looking player for player.
But they aren't, though, are they, Trevor?
No,
I can't have. I mean, yes, City, what is in our one defeat in the last 14, not just league games, but in all competition, and they're looking okay, but they are heavily being driven by Erling Haaland and his goals. And I just don't think, back in the day when we went there and if we got turned over, I'd go, yeah, but, Ederson at that time was one of the 2 best goalkeepers in the world, and Kyle Walker and Vincent Kompany and De Bruyne and Rodri at his best, and Mahrez and Aguero and whatever. And you go, it's a risky run, isn't it? Because that's a really, really good team, isn't it? I don't have that feeling now. Hence the reason that when we did the preview show to the Manchester City game, although I wasn't convinced that Liverpool had turned the corner, but I thought, if we don't believe in them now, after the Aston Villa and the Real Madrid game, when are we actually going to believe in them? When are we actually going to think, I think this might be moving in the right direction? Hence the reason that, as you said, we thought we might be able to get a result, but it was shambolic. It was a no-show. Everything that you wanted. And in the preview show leading up to when we were at the ground on the day, we were talking about last year when we beat them twice 2-0 at Anfield and at the Etihad, but especially the game at the Etihad where we just toyed with them. It was like we were just so far superior in terms of running power, in terms of our tactics. We played without a central striker, and we played like a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-4, and we just ran all over them. And I thought, well, we can do this again, But within 5 minutes, Trevor, you knew, didn't you? We'd hardly kicked off, and you went, "What is this?" What? I mean, I just couldn't recognise any of it. And I know there's, the penalty, and then you get away because he saves the penalty and whatever, and obviously the Van Dijk goal and all that. But I don't think you're doing your job, Trevor, if you're hiding behind those. I think there was more to it than that, and we have to accept that. When we go again, I mean, the next 2 games we play in the league, that's against teams placed in 18th and 19th, West Ham and Nottingham Forest, isn't it? But it just doesn't look right, Trevor. None of it looks right.
No, and I think the technical term for the refereeing incompetence, stroke bad luck, and the performance, I think scientists call it a clusterfuck. But I was looking at it there, and I was trying to work out myself as I'm listening to you. I mean, how do you even go about analysing it from a fan point of view? And as I come back to the thing that you just said. It just doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. And so it's not popular to say this. And maybe it's a bit, I don't know, too easy. But for me, I always wonder what's the atmosphere like in the squad? How are they getting on? How are they gelling? Famously, under Klopp, we've always had this sort of unified thing going on, very much everyone together. And we seem to have a happy camp last year. And obviously the lads have had, as I said earlier on, very pointedly, noticeably in Robbo's words, the lads have had this tragedy to deal with, and we could see how it's still weighing heavily on the likes of him. But this seems as sort of a broader kind of malaise altogether. And I wonder how it's not, how this disjointedness, where it's coming from, really, I suppose, is the question. And it does come back to that bigger issue that, knee-jerk people were talking about after 2 defeats. But I think sensible people are saying now, without feeling like they're being disloyal, when do you start having the chat about whether or not Arne has maybe lost the plot here, or perhaps, like I said at the start of this rambling point, lost the dressing room? Is that something that's possible?
It will be eventually. I mean, all these things. So here we are now, 2 days before the Nottingham Forest game, and of course the manager is not under any kind of pressure. Yeah, I think we can all agree on that. He's not under any kind of pressure. If you don't beat Forest at home and you have another below par performance, another performance where it doesn't look right, I think you're entitled to ask the question, is that, and that's what frustrates me more than anything, Trevor. I'm not a football genius by any, but sometimes when we haven't been doing so well, and you look at the team and you go, yeah, but if we did this or did that, I think that would work. Or if we put him in, or in most cases, sometimes we also had to say, Trevor, but we need to buy maybe this or that or whatever. And you could kind of find a solution. I'm looking now and I'm thinking, I'm not sure how I want this team to play. I'm not sure how I want this team to be set up. One thing I am sure of, I know Carragher's come out and talked about we need to sign somebody in January, otherwise we might miss out on Champions League football altogether. I'm nowhere near that. And I think we're going to find it difficult to actually sign somebody who technically would be good enough to go into our strongest 11, So it's not as if I'm sitting there screaming out for signings, but it's not as if I'm sitting out there screaming out and going, this is the way forward. Robbo as a left back is the way forward as to Kirkus. Is that the way forward, Trevor? I mean, 2 months ago we spoke about this and I went, I'd rather we go with the new boys because they're the future and we make that work instead of taking a step back. But he looked a good decision to take a step back when we beat Aston Villa and Real Madrid. But then at Manchester City, he looked horrendous, didn't he? So I'm not talking about Rob, I'm talking about the whole setup. Looked horrendous again, didn't it? People were saying to me before the game, what about Florian Wirtz? And I said, well, if he doesn't play now, when does he play? He's just had his best game against Real Madrid. So if he doesn't play today, what's the boy going to think? You know, what do I have to do? Do I just play in the Champions League games, or can I play? The only thing I will say is, Trevor, is that there's a massive, massive difference for this team playing away in the Premier League compared to playing at home in the Premier League, and that's an issue because that was the first problems we had in the early 90s when Graham Souness took over, and he brought that whole cluster of new signings in, who were all inspired by playing at Anfield, and we were still a good team at home, but away from home, and I look at this team and I go, we're not built for playing away from home, Trevor. We're not built for playing away from home.
That's a really, really interesting observation, and it's lovely to tie it into your own example from the past as well. I think that makes it real for people. And when you factor in as well, people have done the sums in the fortnight that we've been off away from the show, and they've analysed how Liverpool play against long ball or long passing teams. I don't need to spell out for you, Jan. You know yourself, you've seen it. The eye test will tell you we're not good in those situations. And if anyone thinks that old Dicey isn't getting the lads to warm up their launches for this game at the weekend, you don't know anything about football or Sean Dyche. And everyone will be doing that. The only one who didn't do it when he had the opportunity to do it was Aston Villa's Unai Emery, who decided, you know what, I'm just going to play ball against these because, reasons. And that worked out great, didn't it? So we're just going to have to brace ourselves for that. And before I get to Florian Wirtz and where he should best operate, I wanted to ask you about something you mentioned there. The January window is coming up. We'll undoubtedly keep coming back to this, but we have to mention this one because Antoine Semenyo is being linked with Liverpool very, very strongly. He has a £65 million clause in his contract and apparently wants away from Bournemouth and apparently wants Anfield. Arsenal are also being very strongly linked with the player, and you could see that happening. Apparently they have to move on, I think, Martinelli in order to make that move happen for Semenyo. And again, you could see that happening too. But the strength of the rumours linking Semenyo to Liverpool, I find it fascinating, Jan, because there's obviously something to it. And we know that we did look at him in the past. And does he move the needle for us? How many players do we want to operate from the left-hand side, for the love of Christ? And, if you were to list your order of necessity, I'm sure you would start with maybe one of the full-back options, certainly a centre-half and certainly a defensive midfielder who is capable of progressing the ball from deep. They would surely be our priorities. We look pretty decent elsewhere. It's just lads are underperforming. I find this one really weird. What's your take on the Semenyo story?
Yeah, I mean, my take is that we've got to be careful we don't become the new Real Madrid, in that we think we build from the front. It's old-fashioned, it's boring, but you build from the back. This is, we talk about structure. How does the front five work if the rest of the team doesn't work? So again, we neglected, to a certain extent, we neglected those areas in the summer. And I have to be honest, Trevor, we all thought we might get away with it. Yeah. We all thought we got a lot of quality, and if we can did what, or if Arne Slot can do what he did last year in terms of keeping them all fit, we might get away with it. But we're not getting away with it, and we're not getting away with it because we picked up a few injuries. But we're also not getting away with it because the lads are not hitting their level, and that's a massive problem. So yeah, I was watching something before about somebody talking, and he was a neutral, and I thought he was very good at the way he analysed things. And again, it's kind of this: where is the midfield? Where is our midfield? It's all very good. We're criticising Van Dijk and we're criticising Konate, but where's our midfield? Where are we? Isn't so? Jordan Henderson, a young Fabinho, whoever it is, we need somebody who's totally different to the ones we got. That's for sure. Because I cannot, Trevor, at the moment, give you a midfield three that will carry us from now to the end of the season and get us where we want to go. Guaranteed, yeah.
Well, what about if we could get, and again, the season is running out and we're running out of time, and it gets a bit cliched to say Florian Wirtz will be a great player for Liverpool and all this kind of stuff. But what about a situation where we actually do get a revived McAllister, a better Gravenberch in better form, and Sabazai pulling up trees like he is? would that be enough? And maybe Curtis Jones doing bits, 3 from those 4 going forward as our platform, if we're lucky enough to keep that. You don't think that's enough?
I just worry, Trevor, in that setup, we have weakness that the opposition have exploited. I think the opposition looked at that. They looked at our midfield option and gone, on their day, and if we allow them to do what they want to do, they're going to take some stopping in it. But they have weaknesses, So whether that's where we allow them to get into our own half, we give them possession of the ball, and then we know who. This is the thing, and who has touches. You know how Gravenberch plays, yeah. He plays, considering he's a 6, he plays with high risk on the half turn and whatever, isn't he? I mean, and opposition draw them in. So I think they're looking and they're thinking, in the midfield options that he's got at the moment, and we can include Florian Wirtz in that to make it 5. Liverpool definitely have weaknesses, and I think the opposition have seen that, and they've gone. I quite look forward to playing against Liverpool's midfield, because you'll get your moments. You'll get 3 or 4 moments in every game, and that's a lot of moments in this, Trevor. I mean, just take the other week or the other month when we went down to Crystal Palace and lost 3-1 in it. They created 7 big chances against us, 7 big chances, because they just ran straight through our midfield, because Glasner had seen something and he's gone, these are the moments and we've got to make the most of it, And I just think, I don't know how we can eradicate those weaknesses because of the way that the players need to play. McAllister is a great player, but he can only play one way, really, can't he? That's the way he plays, and you can't ask him. You can't ask him to go and sit as a 6 and do a different job in it. He is the way he is, isn't he? You know what I mean? So I worry about the weakness that we have in our midfield players.
Couldn't agree with you more, and it's probably no surprise we're being linked with the likes of Adam Wharton and Elliot Anderson, and I think in the ideal world, I'd be saying, why not both? Honestly, because I think they're the type of players that we need 100% in this team. To get back to the original point of this segment, then, if we're going to look at the season going forward, I guess we're not going to recruit in midfield because the money would be incredible.
Yeah.
So if that, assuming that this window passes us by without any recruitment there, and we have to go with 3 from those 4 that we mentioned, with Wirtz operating on the left, surely for the rest of the season as part of a nominal front 3, do you see this? Do you see a centre back getting signed so we can go to 3 at the back and change it up to accommodate him in some different shape, or do you see us just trying to forge on with some form of 4-3-3 with Wirtz operating in that left-hand side, free-ish attacking role?
So, the 2 centre halves we have at the moment, I don't know how they would work in the back 3. Virgil and Konate, I don't know how they would work in a back 3. It does disappoint me slightly that the Margay sort of is it's not really the first story you hear, is it? And it should be the first story you hear, isn't it? Because of the injury to Leone and whatever. So I'm not sure. Arne Slot, for my money, is a 4-3-3 manager. That's how he sets his team up. If they think that Florian Wirtz will make it in the Premier League, I think they got to go with him. Yeah, you just got to go. Listen, we got to go with him. Yeah, we sounds horrible, isn't it? But we've also, when I was there, had to slightly carry somebody until they found their feet. Where you kind of go, well, all right, he's not 100% there, so we'll carry him and we'll get by, isn't it? So if the decision is, and I know it's a big decision to make for somebody who costs 116 million, but if they're still 100% confident this boy's going to make it, then we got to go with him, haven't we? We got to, okay, there's only one place you learn, yeah? Because, yes, he's young, but he's not a kid, is he? He's played for Leverkusen. He's the main guy in the German national team, isn't it? So we don't have to protect him as such, and mentally, he should be prepared for what the Premier League and the Champions League, the top of the Champions League brings, isn't it? So if they still feel you've got to run with him, I think you've got to run with him. Is that wide on the left? I've seen him play some wonderful games wide on the left. I just sometimes worry. On Sunday against Manchester City, he's in there in that area, and if I'm thinking they ain't going to give him any space, the right back. I know he's not a right back, but he's a good athlete in Nunes, and he was never going to give him any space. And if he come inside, and Ruben Diaz is stepping into him, and then you got Nico Gonzalez, and to be fair to Nico Gonzalez, he's a great player without the ball. He struggles a little bit with the ball, isn't it? But without the ball, he does a really good job, isn't it? So it's like, it's really, really, and it must be really frustrating for Florian Wirtz, and he's thinking, Every time I sidestep somebody or find a bit of space, I'm just running into this massive big defender who ain't going to give me an inch, whereas in Germany, he was feeling people, wasn't he? And he was using that to his advantage. He's letting people get close. Come on, get closer, and feeling them. And he's using that, isn't he? He's letting them get close in the Premier League. But if they don't nick it, somebody else, because that's what you do in the Premier League, isn't it? Germany, there's a lot more man to man, and you follow your man and whatever. In the Premier League, basically, you are where the ball are. You put pressure on the ball. So when Florian Wirtz has the ball and he has 4 or 5 touches, which he has sometimes, they know, don't they? He's feeling. Somebody else comes there and nicks it off him. And how often have we seen that, Trevor?
Yeah, and you would back him against most teams, maybe not Man City, as you say, they've just got quality. And we had said going into that game, look, any given game against Manchester City, there's enough quality in that team that you wouldn't get turned over, but they can win any game on a given day. We could be the best team and they could still win. That could easily have happened, but to see us get outperformed everywhere, not just Wirtz and his struggles, it makes me wonder as we look forward to the weekend in the last part of the show in a while about the options otherwise, because we know Mo is going to miss, I think it's up to 9 games, Jan, with AFCON. And he's not exactly been pulling up trees this season anyway. So the accommodations are going to have to be made. And Hugo Ekitike is going to come bouncing back from his trip with the French team. We saw his goal for the national team and the delight that he took in a fantastic goal and just lovely direct running and cleverness and finishing and all the rest of it. And I think he's made a really wonderful start to his Liverpool career. He was underwhelming against City like so many others were. I wouldn't blame him for that necessarily. He probably has the shirt nailed down, but I just wonder at what stage, for the love of God, is Alexander Isak going to become an option? He went away with Sweden, played some minutes. I mean, nominally, surely he was the best striker in the league. He's now currently one of the best too. Last year, I think he probably was the best. Haaland's outrageous at the moment, so there's no living with him as a direct opponent. But Isak on his day, his ability, we should have such a resource in him. And I, for one, am getting a little bit difficult to keep hearing the stories about pre-season and training. And I understand there was a niggle and an injury and all that, but it's getting to that time, Jan, isn't it? We need to see the main man perform.
So first, you mentioned Hugo Ekitike and how well he's done. He's found it difficult in our last 2 or 3 games. And I just wonder whether we actually at the moment know how to play with a number 9. Do we actually know what do we do with number 9? Because last year, bang, we looked for Mo, yeah? And this year we still got Mo, but we're also looking for Florian Wirtz, yeah? So do we actually know? The best example is Manchester City, Trevor. They have the ball less and less and less, especially when they play against the big teams. 33% when they played Arsenal away, they have the ball less and less and less and less, but they have such a clear plan of playing to the one man who can make a difference, yeah? And I just wonder, do we actually know how to play with a number 9? A number 9 that runs in behind or wants to run in behind, or a number 9 wants to be at the end of crosses that's coming in, because Bobby Firmino was never a number 9 either, was he? He was a totally different player, but in those days we had Mo and Sadio had their best, isn't it? So coming back to Alexander Isak, I have to be honest, Trevor, it's getting on my nerves now. What is this fucking thing about not playing him? Manchester City, 15 minutes to go. I know we lost the game, but why doesn't he get 15 minutes? 15 minutes out there in a Premier League game is worth 5 hours on training ground. Because when you get the ball down at the training ground and you want to dribble past somebody, they let you dribble past them, don't you? But Ruben Dias doesn't. Put him on for 15 minutes. I was going mentally in commentary. I'm going, well, surely this is, if he's ready, and he must be ready to sit on the bench, give him 15 minutes, give him 20 minutes. I'm not talking about get him out there, because it's a fine balance between playing 15 or 20 minutes or playing 35 minutes. But give him 15, 20 minutes. There'll be no damage yet. Then Sweden plays in the first game. What does he play? 28 minutes. The second game, packed up on the bench again. What is this thing about not playing him? So, yeah, you're right. It's impossible now to defend it. And I'm not, the criticism I've just had isn't of him. That's of Arne Slot. Put him on. And also, what's our, what's the ex-Brighton and Chelsea manager who's took the Sweden job?
I'm having a mental blank as well. We all know who we're talking about. We all know who we're talking about.
Yeah. Bloody hell. So they play in 15, 20 minutes. So what are we doing now? I really don't know. I mean, are we going to play him for half an hour in the second half against Forest and then give him a whole game against PSV Eindhoven? Because you know what the game against PSV Eindhoven is going to be like. It's going to be open. It's going to be end-to-end. There's probably every chance it's going to be 4, 5, 6 goals. So is that his 90? Is that his 70 minutes? I don't know, but we can't keep giving him away from the Premier League, can we? You know, I know we've got a little sort of soft run of games in it, but you know, at some stage your bread and butter is the Premier League, and so please, you know, can we, Graham Potter, please, can we get him out there? You know.
Do you think Graham Potter was told by the club, by our lot, you've got give him, right, take him away, let him train with you. He needs to keep momentum. He needs to keep whatever. I'm struggling like you. I find myself trying to find an excuse for it, and the more I think about it, the more annoyed I'm getting. And again, it's not about the player himself. I'm sure he's absolutely. You'd said this the last day. You know that kid is busting to get in the park. He just can't wait to get in the park. No one wants to justify Alexander Isak's price tag more than Alexander Isak. I hope that this period of fixtures that's coming up is going to be the time when he gets revealed to us in all his glory. I really do. Imagine the lovely headache of, is there a world in which we can play Isak and Ekitike together because they're both doing so well? I mean, that's where we want to be, Jan. Jesus, it doesn't seem like a lot to ask. We do have this run coming up before we start narrowing it down in terms of the next 2 games. We'll finish the show with those as per usual, but we do have this run of games coming up, and I wouldn't mind just having a quick look at these because it's very interesting to look at. I'll just share it with the people here so they can see it. And obviously we have Forest at home on Saturday, but then this run of games coming up, like we'll talk about PSV away on the Wednesday night as well, because you and I probably won't have a show before that. And then it's West Ham, as you can see, on the 30th of November. We go away then to Sunderland. We're at home then to Sunderland. We go away to Leeds. We go away to Inter. We have Brighton at home. We are away at Spurs on the 20th. At home to Wolves on the 27th, and that sees December out, and January starts with the game at home to Leeds, and the cycle begins again. As you look at that, and people can just watch them slowly scrolling if they're watching the video, you know, PSV will hopefully be. It's a game that Liverpool of old, as in all of 6 months ago, you'd say, right, we win that. We beat West Ham. We beat Sunderland. We beat Leeds. Inter will be tricky, but we'll beat them. Brighton will beat them at home. Spurs, we have to go to them. It'll be tricky as usual, but we should be beating them. Should be beating Wolves at home, beating Leeds at home. Should be able to go to Fulham and win. Should be able to go to Arsenal and win in the new year. If we're on the back of a load of great results. But we don't have that thing, Jan, that you and I have been able to say since we started doing the show, that we fully expect our team to do the business regardless of the opposition. We don't have that confidence anymore. In fact, it's utterly shattered. So as you look at that that run of, inverted commas, winnable fixtures, does it look like that to you, or do you actually get twice as nervous? Because most of those teams will come and do the thing that we don't like teams doing to us at the moment, which is being direct.
Yeah, so I mean, you could probably go all the way to the Fulham game, which is the 4th or the 5th of January. So that's a lot of games. So we're talking potentially, 10 or 11 games. If we isolate them and go one by one, I think the Inter one will obviously be the difficult one, but I think we'll win. Let's say there's 11 games, we'll win 10 out of 11. Yeah. But when you put them together and you go, I'm not sure we're at a stage right now where we can win 10 out of 11 games. You know, because the games are obviously every 3 days and what it requires and everything else, isn't it? Forest, we know it's going to be difficult. It's going to be a nightmare of a game. PSV, they're going to come and play, so that's going to be nice and open. Or West Ham. Do you really want to go to West Ham right now? They just won a couple of games. They find a bit of belief. So that's a tricky game. And then Sunderland come with all their confidence and unbelievable start in the Premier League. And then you go to Ellen Road, which, Ellen Road is, I mean, we've lost Goodison Park now, haven't we? So Ellen Road is probably the one stadium sort of left that carries a team, the crowd can carry a team. So that's going to be a tricky one, isn't it? Brighton is finding a bit of form and they're finding some clean sheets as well, isn't it? So I generally don't know, Trevor. But if you ask me to predict every one of them in isolation, I would think I still have that. And I was going to ask you, do you still have that, Trevor, before every game? You think we will win? We'll win today. Yeah, I still have that. But I don't think we can win 10 out of 11. And that sounds funny, doesn't it, Paul?
I'm sort of perennially optimistic for some reason. It's one area of my life is football where I am. And I to answer your question, I don't have that anymore. They've kicked the bollocks out of it, Jan. They really have. Because I don't understand what's going on. Because I used this analogy on a show recently, and it'll make sense to you in a far, far clearer way because you were one of these people I'm talking about. You put good players together in an 11. I don't fucking care if they've never played before. They can do bits. Yeah. And then eventually they'll start to play well. And we've all, like I said, we've all experienced that in different ways at whatever level we played the game at. If you get a few of the very best players at whatever level you're at and you put them together on a team, that's what all of our school lives were like. That's what an awful lot of our early football careers were like. Oh, these teams aren't fair because you've got all the good lads. Like, we have all the good lads, Jan.
Yeah,
let's be simplistic about it. We have all these fucking wonderful footballers. So it really puts the crosshairs on my bald brother from Dutchy land there to get it right. And I feel like he is under real pressure for that reason. I'm not being ridiculous about this. I'm just saying, dude, you've got to get this right. These players, regardless of whether they're really suffering individually on and off with the ongoing effects of grief, we all have sympathy for that. Regardless of whether maybe there's sort of some of them have one eye in the door. Rumor is that Mo could be on his way. The rumor is that Ali's on his way. You could understand that some of the senior footballers might not necessarily be all there or might not have the same desire to muck in for the group for the future that they did in the past. And maybe some of the new boys are feeling isolated and alone and all that. But Jesus Christ, someone has to rally the troops in that case. You can't be, I'm not saying you have to be Jurgen Klopp, Jan. I'm not saying you have to be this big avuncular kind of character who's a bit larger than life. But you also can't be distant. You also can't turn your back on the fact that this is a real issue. That togetherness we associate with this bunch of lads, it's just not there. And it's showing in the performances.
I think you summed that up really well, Trevor, in that what we need now is a guy to lead us similar to our most revered managers over the years. The Bill Shankly and the Jurgen Klopps of this world, people that make you believe. It sounds silly, doesn't it? When we talk about Klopp and he made Liverpool fans believers and whatever. It sounds silly, isn't it? But when you look back at it, that's exactly what it's about now, isn't it? So, and I do believe that there's a certain amount of truth in everything that you said in terms of, is Alisson Becker the next one to leave? Is Mo Salah looking to maybe go somewhere else now after they hadn't turned out quite? Some of the new boys are finding it really, really difficult. What are they thinking, isn't it? And I do think there's a certain amount of truth in that. That is probably going on, And when you have situations like that, there's only one man who can put it all together, isn't it? And there's only one man who can put it all together with a clear strategy, And that's where dressing rooms and star players, and we've got a lot of star players, haven't we? That's where dressing rooms and star players are critical because they're going to go, come on, get this, work it out, somehow work it out. I would like to be able to really offer a good opinion about what I think we should do. I can't, but it technically isn't my job, but it is Arne Slott's job, isn't it? So, now would be a good time to start and give us some belief over the next 3 or 4 games that we can be okay. We've got these great run of games that we might be able to, but we need some belief, Trevor. There's hardly any belief. I mean, I had lads ringing me on the way back from the city, and I know when they ring me, they've rang me 3 times in the last 10 years on the way home from away games. So you kind of know why they're ringing, isn't it? Because they don't know either. They go, "What's happening? What was that?" So I'm talking to people now about the Nottingham Forest game, and what is the first thing that they say? Well, here we go again. Sean Dice, long balls, and already now, whereas normally you'd go, yeah, Forest is okay, isn't it? But surely 2 or 3-0 all day long, isn't it? They won't get anywhere near us. We'll dominate and we'll put them away and we'll move on to the PSV game, isn't it? But all of a sudden now people are worried and concentrate on, because what we're very good at, Trevor, normally is we concentrate on our own team and we kind of dismiss the opposition. We just get on with it. But now people go, it's Sean Dice. We know what type of football it's going to be. And Forest, if you based on last season, were quite good at defending, you know what I mean? And they're a big physical side. So already now people are seeing worrying signs everywhere. And I'm a little bit the same. I think we'll win. But I think it's going to be one of those uncomfortable afternoons again.
Yeah, and there'll probably be more of those until there isn't. And lots of things can go right. We can get, like I said, Isak in a run. Hugh, I think he can start pulling up trees. Florian Wirtz playing regularly well. Get that midfield functional, all those kind of things. But there's just so many of them to address that it is hard to have that same confidence you usually do. Just before we go to Forest and PSV, I never actually got to say it to you directly. I introduced it, and I think I derailed the question. If we were to sign Antoine Semenyo, what would be your thoughts on that?
I like him. I do like him, Trevor. He's capable of playing both sides. He looks like one of those footballers who are almost immune to injuries. He's got a great track record. He's obviously a big, strong boy. And if anyone is in any doubt, and sometimes you go, well, what's he actually done? Well, just go back to the first game of the season when he had that half-an-hour spell at Anfield where he was electric. You're absolutely spot on that Liverpool have looked at him before, but last time they looked at him, they were lacking an end product. He had all the right numbers until the numbers that matter, the numbers that win you the game, and they weren't there. But he's added that to his game. Add to that the Richard Hughes, obviously know him better than most. Add to another thing, which I think will be massive for Liverpool. Liverpool will probably look at 65 million and think he's undervalued. So that'll be another reason for us to be really, really interested. I would absolutely embrace a player of his talent, a player with his attitude, Trevor. He's got a great attitude to the game, up and down, wants to. What I like about Bournemouth players is that they're used to playing in a team. They've got a lot of great players, but still they managed to keep the team as the star. So he knows how a team works, There will be no special role for him if he should he join us. It's just do the same as what you've been doing at Bournemouth. And so yeah, I'm a big fan. Absolutely a big fan. It's just whether we think 65 million for him is the right thing to do in January. And it will be, as long as if they make a decision that we don't want to sign a centre half because maybe we've got somebody lined up, but we want to do something in the summer, and also we can't get who we want to get in midfield, then of course it makes sense. And as much as people say it's hard to sign in January, yeah, it is hard, but we've signed some really good players in January over the years, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's what it comes down to. I think we'd all love to see that Semenyo attitude in the Liverpool team, and maybe it'll be infectious, who knows. And the other thing, I think you're spot on, that at 65 he does represent value. It seems like an awful lot of money, but do you think it's going to be 65? Would it have been 65 in the summer? I mean, we're doing it's a clause for a reason. So I can see the club maybe saying, well, let's take advantage of this, maybe long term. Like if we're both right with our suspicion, maybe there won't be a Mo Salah around next year and we'll have to shake things up a bit. So let's see how that works. Right, we do have 2 big games to focus on for the end of the show here, and Forest and PSV are the ones in question. And you kind of touched on Forest a little bit there in terms of what we could possibly expect from this game, but let's go into it in a little bit more detail. And I just want to show Forest's fixtures for those of you who are watching on video and can have a look at it. We'll just look at the matches there as they have been playing out for them recently. Obviously, that's us there against them on Saturday. last time out, they had a 3-1 win over Leeds. They had a 0-0 with Sturm Graz previous to that, and a 2-2 with United. They were at home to United on the 1st of November. Previous to that, they had a reversal away at Bournemouth 2-0, and they had a 2-0 home win over Porto in the previous game to that, and then a 3-0 defeat at home to Chelsea back on the 18th of October. The table makes for very depressing viewing. I can't even bring myself to put it on the big screen here, Jan. So what we'll do instead is we'll just look at the most recent Nottingham Forest team that went out in that victory over Leeds. And we can just have a look at the lineup here so people can see it. And they had Sells in goal there with Milenkovic and Murillo ahead of him in centre halves. Nico Williams and Savona were the fullbacks. Sangare and Elliot Anderson in midfield with Gibbs White, Ndoye and Dominguez in a line behind Jesus up front. And off the bench, they can call on Morato, Awanyi, Hutchinson, Omari Hutchinson came on, Ryan Yates, John Victor, James McAtee, and a few others there as well made up the bench on the day. In terms of the threat posed by them as a team, and what do you think the manager is going to be trying to do with them? I was maybe a bit dismissive earlier on. I actually don't like to hear people belittling any managers who have any kind of success at all, and I would take my hat off to Sean Dyche, to be perfectly honest with you. Genuinely take my hat off to him for what he has achieved in the game, and I wouldn't be surprised to see a sort of new manager bounce there. Jan, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, I think it'd be difficult. I think you only need to look at the names. So if you look at Forest last season, and they had a great season. The goalkeeper had an excellent season. Sells came in and did really, really well. The two centre-halves look more than capable of being able to defend even at the highest level in the Premier League. And they got Morgan Gibbs-White in midfield, who's a really good player. He's the kind of link, isn't he? You know, when you go to these big away games like Anfield, who is the one midfield player that's going to get from your midfield and into the box and make that extra striker? Well, he does that. Add to the fact that they brought in Elliot Anderson this year, who's done even better than what anyone thought he was capable of doing. So he's having yet another really, really impressive season with Forest. And then they got some exciting players further forward. But I do think that obviously Chris Wood, who's injured, I don't know how long he's injured for, and Alanga went to Newcastle. And I do think they're missing them a little bit. So I don't think they're as formidable going forward as they were. See, the thing with Chris Wood is that you just kind of know where you're going to get, isn't it? You know, and for him to score whatever 15 plus goals was sensational, isn't it? So I think they're missing that a little bit, isn't it? But there is a lot of players I like in the team. You know, as I said before, keeper, two centre half, Elliot Anderson, Gibbs White in the middle. Even our old boy Williams playing left back. They obviously or right back because Ola Aina is injured or whatever, isn't it? But they've got some good players. It'll be difficult, Trevor. He'll get them together. He'll shut it down, and they'll live off their ability to counter attack, and they'll live off their ability to be a nuisance at set pieces.
Now I'm going to ask you what you think we should do for the lineups for the pair of matches together. So let's again now just briefly have a look at what PSV are going to put up to us in terms of a threat. They are sitting out on top, in case people don't know, of the Eredivisie there at the moment, 3 points clear, so many miles ahead of Ajax, I think back and forth, if I'm correct in what I looked at earlier on. And they've been on a bit of a run. They had a win away at Alkmaar 5-1. Olympiacos a 1-1 draw in the previous game to that. They beat Fortuna Sittard 5-2 and Feyenoord 3-2 at Feyenoord. They also had a big win over Napoli 6-2. And then previous to that, the go-ahead Eagles got beaten 2-1. So, I mean, they are, like I said, top of the Eredivisie. They're kind of flying, just so people get an idea of what their team looks like in terms of the lineup in the last game. Their big, heavy win over AZ Alkmaar, featuring, of course, Ireland's own Troy Parrott. Some names, maybe some of them will be familiar to some people. They had Kovar, and then ahead of them, Shooten and Dest and Gasarowski and Salah-Eddin. They got Veerman and Junior in midfield, Saibari and Mann and Perisic, and then Till up front. And honestly, there's only, I think, two names there that I'm very familiar with that I've seen play a lot. And off the bench, not exactly a whole load of household names either. And yet, Jan, they are where they are, very much flying at the top of the Eredivisie. They're going to demand respect. What do you make of the challenge posed by PSV?
Yeah, in fairness, it's a game I'm looking forward to. And the reason you just mentioned in terms of you never get too familiar with the PSV names because it's all about moving players on, isn't it? Yeah. You move players on because you get a great offer and they can go somewhere else and you'll make big money. Or you move them on because they've been at your club for 2 or 3 years and you think they're now reaching age and we're not going to be able to sell them for big money, so we just move them on and we brings a new fresh of youngsters in. Most of them from their academy, isn't it? They always play in a similar way. They're very, very attack-minded. There's so many goals in all their games. I mean, you mentioned 6-2 against Napoli. I mean, it's madness, isn't it? But that's the kind of threat that they carry. That if you catch them on a day when they're at it and they're running at you like the red arrows, you can get in trouble. But again, I would be adamant that PSV Eindhoven, a bit like we're suffering away from home in the Premier League, I think they'll find it difficult to come to Anfield away games in the Premier League without the 30,000 or whatever they get at in Eindhoven to support them. I think they'll find it difficult, but I think it'll be a good game, and there will be moments, and there will be 1 or 2 players you come away with and go, I'd say he's a good player, and he's a good player, and he might just be the next big one, isn't it? You know, because they've always got those players. That's how the structure is of especially PSV and Ajax, isn't it? We always have to have those 2 or 3 players that people look and go and keep an eye on them. So come away on Wednesday after we've beaten them. There will be 1 or 2 players, Trevor, that might have took your fancy, you know.
I was going to ask you to put your manager's hat on for a second, but let's not. Let's remove that lovely head of hair of yours and replace it with a bald cap, and allow you to step into the role of Arne Slot for these 2 games, and maybe just going forward. Is continuity in the team going to be very important? Because it was to Arne in his league winning season. Do you think it's going to be to get through this next spell? Like, pretty much Robbo plays most of the games, and we have pretty settled front 3 and so on and so forth. Is that how you see him approaching this? Because it's hard to see how you go to changing things up on a regular basis when things are in flux, and that be a good thing, you know?
I agree, Trevor. The easy solution, and it's often the one you get from the supporters, is, you know, you got to change the team more and you got to rest players, is that? But we don't at the moment have 18 players we can trust. And strangely enough, it looked like we'd run out of legs for the City game, haven't had a day longer to recover than what Manchester City had. So that didn't make any sense either. So Forest, I think we more or less played the same team as we did against what we did in the last 3 games, basically. I think he'll go with the same. And he'll go, well, this, you know, we now had time to have a breather. And we looked at it, and 2 of the 3 games, you know, Aston Villa and Real Madrid, we won, clean sheets. There's some positives. Yes, City was a little bit of a nightmare, but for the time being, let's put that to one side and let's go with that again. Because if then they can do a job on Forest and PSV with more or less the same team, then all of a sudden that lineup have won 4 out of 5, haven't they? So you're kind of getting somewhere then, aren't you? So having said that, though, I think he'll make changes for the PSV Eindhoven game. You know, I think he will make possibly 4 or 5 changes in that. I can definitely see the likes of Kirkus coming back in. And there's every chance that Ekiteki and Isak and Wirtz, and then they might all play in that game, is because there's going to be space, there's going to be room, we're going to want willing runners and whatever. So, but I do think, Trevor, that we will win both. So that's a good sign itself.
It is. I don't know where you're getting it from. God bless you.
No, I know.
I'll be honest with you, man. The part of me that wants to watch the world burn was half hoping that we'd see pictures coming from, I don't know, Dubai or somewhere with Arnie and his little yellow budgie smugglers beside a pool, just to see what that would do to people's brains, because they got so bent out of shape about his holiday the last time. And anyway, we are where we are. Let's look forward to the games. You've given us a feeling that you think we're going to come out on top in both of them. Can I get a prediction from you for Nottingham Forest and PSV just to finish?
Yeah, you certainly can, Trev. I mean, I do think the Forest game will be tricky in the way that Sean Dyche is making a name of himself of making it awkward for teams to play against them. And they do have some quality. They have some quality in open play and counter-attacking, but it'll also be a nightmare to deal with at set pieces. So the Forest game, Liverpool 2, Forest 1. I just think it'll be an awkward afternoon, Trevor. Also with the international break and everything else, isn't it? Wednesday, I'm a bit more comfortable. I think that'll be Liverpool 4, PSV Eindhoven 1.
Snatch your hand off, brother, if I could get those. That's fantastic. As ever, sir, thank you very much for your time and for the flexibility to go around the houses and all the topics. Genuinely is appreciated every weekend.
We shouldn't forget, Trevor, this is big now, isn't it? You know, end of November, and we play all the way through to end of March, isn't it? You know, with no breaks, isn't it? You know, so this is a massive, important period of the season.
Make or break, Chief. It is make or break, and Jan and I will be with you to track the progress of Liverpool as hopefully we get things back on track and back on the rails. Until the next one, mind yourselves.